Welcome into Sports Memo's betting podcast. College football, every game on the board a day earlier than normal with Mid-Major Matt. Mid-Major Matt, welcome to the pod. How are you?
I'm doing well, Drew. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. We got some weekday action on the board, and that's where we're going to start off with two games actually tonight. We're recording this on Tuesday. We got Eastern Michigan at Akron up first. Looks like EMU minus 17 now, minus 16.5 at some shops, seeing 46.5 as the total. You interested in fading the Zips, Mid-Major Matt?
Well, everybody's fading the Zips. I mean, they have an 0-8 against the spread run as an underdog so far this year. I found a fact on Twitter that their leading rusher is Brandon Lee, who has 172 yards on the season. Well, 65 times this season, a player has rushed for 173 yards or more by themselves this season. So Akron not getting anything from the run game. The thing is, do I want to lay this many points with Eastern Michigan? They've been very disappointing. I use scores and odds for a lot of my trends and stuff, and they actually have not been a favorite on the road this much since at least past 1992. The weather could be an issue tonight. I think it's snowing as of the time of this taping. It's supposed to be bitterly cold tonight. That's why we've seen the total come down a little bit. I can't say that I'm going to lay the points with Eastern Michigan, especially since we don't know about Mike Glass. Last game, he left with an injury. He limped off, but it was a blowout, so they're saying it might have been precautionary. We don't know about his status. The Hutchinson kid's the backup. There's a lot of question marks, a lot of unknowns for this one, so I'm probably going to stay away. And weather like this, maybe this equalizes things for the Zips as they take on Eastern Michigan.
All right, and we got actually a doubleheader tonight in action. We got Western Michigan at Ohio. Looks like the Bobcats catching one at home and 64 being the total here, Matt.
Yeah, this is an interesting game because when you look at Ohio, teams have been able to run on them 4 times this season. They've given up 200 yards or more on the ground. That means that Levante Bellamy could be very busy tonight for Western Michigan. Western Michigan also has not covered yet on the road. But Ohio hasn't covered at home yet this year or as a favorite. So this is an interesting line. The one thing I'm going to be watching is, Western Michigan's playing Mississippi Valley State in basketball. It'll be very interesting to see if the margin of victory in that game is more than the amount of points Western Michigan scores in this one. I'm not ready to back Ohio because they just haven't played good football this year. They're really inconsistent with Rourke at quarterback. I like Western Michigan. I lean to Western Michigan. It's going to be a cold, bitterly cold night once again. Don't know how much of a home field advantage there will be. I like the Western Michigan offense, which is the most sure unit of the 4 of them in this game tonight.
And if you're a fan of action, we got 2 more on Wednesday night. Bowling Green at Miami of Ohio. Miami O laying 18 at home, 49.5 or 50 being the total, Matt.
So Miami Ohio's won 3 straight. They've won 4 of their last 5. This is a team that's playing well with Brett Gabbert under quarterback. They're doing just enough to win these games. But they don't run the ball. They have the 108th ranked rush offense, Miami of Ohio does. The Falcons are 120th against the rush on defense. Both of their running backs, Davon Jones and Andrew Clare, are questionable for this one. Bowling Green's offense has been pathetic. Like the Grant Lloyd kid that they've brought in, he's very mobile, but they just haven't gotten very much from him. Miami, Ohio has been a home favorite of 17.5 to 21 points just 3 times since 1992. This is not a situation they're used to. Once again, weather could be a factor in this one. It's something you always have to look for as we head into November and December. It's a lot of points. Miami, Ohio is kind of an ugly team, though. I maybe look at the under. Maybe if you think that Miami, Ohio's defense shuts down Bowling Green and you get just enough stops from the Bowling Green defense, this one could be an under on Wednesday.
Matt, we got Northern Illinois at Toledo to finish up the Wednesday card. We do have more action actually on Thursday as well, but 52.5 being the total here with the Rockets laying 2 in the hook in the Glass Bowl.
A lot of questions here. We don't know about who's going to be under center for Toledo. Mitchell Guadini or Carter Bradley, both are listed as questionable. Does that mean the Peters kid comes in, or is there somebody else at quarterback? Kovac, the running back, is also questionable. This is a large chunk of the Toledo offense, so I don't know if I can back Toledo or Northern Illinois without knowing who's under center right now. NIU got embarrassed last week. If you read a lot of the press clippings, they basically took it personally last week that they played as poorly as they did. It's a proud program. They've got a lot of tradition. Ross Bowers was in concussion protocol, basically came back the day before, threw a bunch of interceptions, didn't play very well. Northern Illinois traditionally has had Toledo's number in the past. Now, granted, these are 2 different teams, and the Glass Bowl is a very tough place to play. I'm going to wait and see who's under center for Toledo, but I think there's a chance Northern Illinois is a live dog in this one.
And we're going to make it 5 in a row in the MAC with Buffalo at Kent State. This one on Thursday night, we got Buffalo, the Bulls, laying 6 on the highway, 56.5 the total.
Kent State sophomore wide receiver Isaiah McCoy is questionable for this one. He's the number 1 wide receiver. Joel Shaw, who's a running back for Kent State, is no longer with the team. They've allowed 200 yards or more on the ground in 3 straight and 4 of their last 5, which is bad news against Buffalo because when you look at Marks and Patterson, it's not just a law firm; it's a backfield in Buffalo. They want to run the ball. They want to keep things, keep this potent Kent State offense off the field. If you look, they've actually played pretty well. We've talked about it in the past. Woody Barrett was supposed to be the guy. It's Crum now playing quarterback. It's an interesting game to say the least. I think you could see an over here if Buffalo's scoring on the run and Kent State's going on the pass. Might be worth a look there. But as we get closer, I want to see what some of these injuries and how they happen.
All right, moving out of Maction into the ACC here. We got a 5 o'clock Pacific kick. North Carolina at Pitt. Looks like Pitt laying 4, 50.5 being the total, Matt.
Well, we know every game that North Carolina plays is close. That's all they do is play these close games. And as I've said, as a guy who has the under on their ticket and basically hoping that for a push now, if you change a couple of plays, the Clemson game, the Duke game, North Carolina's record is going to be tremendously different. Important for Pitt's defense, safety DeMar Hamlin. It looks like he's going to play. He didn't play last week in Atlanta, or 2 weeks ago in Atlanta. He's the second leading tackler for the team. UNC has won the last 2 games in this series by 3 points. I kind of like UNC getting the points here in this rivalry, in this game. I'm not a big Pitt person right now. The Coastal has, if I remember correctly, the ACC football has tweeted out that there are over 1,000 combinations still in the ACC Coastal. I think that North Carolina is a live dog in this one on Thursday night, Friday night, whichever night we're in.
Yeah, it was Thursday night, and we do have a Friday nighter here with a pretty interesting line. Louisiana Tech is catching points in Conference USA. That's kind of surprising to me, Matt. Not sure how you feel, but we got Louisiana Tech at Marshall. Thundering Herd laying 2 in the hook at home, 56 being the total.
These are 2 of the best teams in Conference USA. Louisiana Tech has not lost since that Texas game. They've had 6 double-digit wins as well. So you're wondering, well, why are they an underdog in this one? Marshall's a tough place to play. Marshall's won 4 straight since losing 2 in a row. The defense has been playing very well. I'm guessing that they think the defense for Marshall is going to come up strong here. It's 2 good offenses against 1 good defense and a defense that has stepped up at times. I'll be interested to see where this line moves. I'm going to kind of let the market tell me a little bit what they think because I think a lot of the public's going to jump on Louisiana Tech. They see a team that wins 8 in a row and they're getting points. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, let's do that. But maybe some of the sharps will jump in on Marshall. So I'm going to kind of wait a little bit and see where some people go in this game before I make an opinion on this one.
And the late nighter on Friday night lights in the Mountain West, we got Fresno State at San Diego State. Aztecs laying 1.5 in San Diego, 42.5 the total here.
San Diego State's fascinating. If you look at their numbers, they're first in the Mountain West in scoring defense. They're averaging 14.4 points per game allowed. But they're 11th of 12th in scoring offense, 20.8. The Agnew kid is not the answer at quarterback. He's not very good. They rank first in total defense and last in total offense. Juwan Washington is the running back for them, but he's playing with an ankle injury, and he clearly doesn't look the same. The question is, can you trust Fresno State? They've been so inconsistent this year. You look, they lose at home to Utah State, but then they win. Before that, they won at Hawaii. They lose at home to Colorado State. They've got a win at New Mexico State. They nearly knocked off Minnesota back in week 2. Fresno State's best could probably get them a victory here and probably get them a cover, but do you want to trust them on this game and hope that they can move the ball on San Diego State? And I don't know if I can or not.
Matt, let's move to the Saturday card here. We got rotation number 319, 320, West Virginia at Kansas State. Wildcats laying 14 in the Little Apple, 47.5 the total.
Well, West Virginia didn't play very well last week, but they may have found their quarterback. The Doji kid came in and replaced Austin Kendall. They started moving the ball a little bit. Coach Neil Brown said that he has, quote unquote, a plan for those 2 quarterbacks. He's not going to tell us what the plan is there, but if the new kid gets a little bit more run, the transfer, then I think this offense could be more competent. And, they've got an injury list for miles. They are banged up all over the place. It's a West Virginia team that probably is just ready to end the season. Then you've got Kansas State. They're coming off the 3-point loss to Texas. The Gilbert kid and the Brown kid, both running backs, are practicing today as of this taping, but they don't know about their status yet. And Sean Ryan is practicing for West Virginia. So To me, I lean early on into Kansas State, getting some frustrations out, maybe the over here because West Virginia is just not stopping anybody on defense. I would like the over even more if I find out that Doji is starting and playing more than in Kendall. And I apologize if I butchered his name, but that's just how I can see it, is Doegege for the West Virginia Mountaineers.
Matt, we got Virginia Tech versus Georgia Tech. Battle of the Techs here in Bobby Dodd. 52 being the total, with the Hokies laying 5.5 in Atlanta.
Well, I was very surprised at how well Tech played on Saturday against Wake Forest. The Hokie defense has been a question mark all year, and they've started to get better. They have a lot of young talent. The Caleb Farley kid, there's Chamari Connor. There's building blocks for the future, and you could see that the Bud Foster influence on that defense. The offense is starting to get a little better as well. Hendon Hooker's starting to get more comfortable. They're expanding the playbook for him. They and UVA are the only two teams who can control their own destiny in the Coastal. The question is, can they handle this trip down to sleepy Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta? Georgia Tech has a sneaky good pass secondary, top 20 in the league entering the Virginia game. They came close. They covered against a potentially unfocused Virginia last Saturday. Georgia Tech's problem is that they have allowed a lot of sacks. Entering Saturday, they had given up a sack every 8.1 pass attempts. Now, granted, UVA didn't get to the quarterback, but maybe Virginia Tech does. You know, they don't have a ton of seniors. They've got just 8 who dress for games because of 3 season-ending injuries. 6 of them are only on the travel roster. This is the long way of saying I think Georgia Tech might be worth a look here. Virginia Tech's got Pittsburgh at home next week in a big coastal-type game. It's a very young Hokie squad. I think that they could be overlooking this matchup, and at 5.5, I might take a chance with the home team. He's
mid-major, Matt. And, guys, special coupon code for this podcast, good for the next 48 hours. Coupon code MATT69, that's MATT69, at checkout for his 7-day all-access package. The next week of plays, every sport, every play he releases for under $10 a day. Matt69 at checkout for his 7-day all-access package at sportsmemo.com. And, Matt, real quick, you're doing college football and college basketball mainly, and you're also doing NFL, right?
Yes, 8-2 my last 10 in college basketball. We're on a nice streak in the NFL as well the last couple weeks, and we're doing well there. And we're trying to pick up our college football record. It'll get a little bit better. We're doing well in the SEC, 7-2 in SEC games, and 17-10 in FCS games involving FCS squads.
Yeah, and you can hear it in his name, mid-major Matt. And Matt, how many college basketball plays will you normally release in a week?
In a week, I would say, that's tough. At least 10. At least 10. I've got 3 tonight. I had 4, but I had to take one of them down because the line moved too much. So that's a good sign, hopefully, that hopefully we got in early for the people who bought early on a play tonight. But, about 3 or 4 on a normal day. And then on a Saturday, maybe 5 or so, depending upon how I'm feeling.
All right. Well, and guys, if you do the all-access package, so any extended package on Sports Memo, you'll get the email notifications. So if a play does move, you'll be able to at least get down on it before it moves, whereas if you buy a play, you never know exactly when the play line does move. So I always recommend going with the extended packages, and 7-day all-access, great place to start, sportsmemo.com, Matt69. at checkout. We'll give it to you for less than $10 a day, 7-day all access at sportsmemo.com. Next game up here, Matt, we got 324 Tulane at Temple. Green Wave laying 4 in the hook on the road, 55 the total.
Vegas keeps making Temple a home underdog, which is fascinating this year because outside of the UCF game, they've done very well at home as a home underdog. Knocked off Memphis, knocked off Maryland at home. They did not play well in that UCF game, but of course that was a completely different challenge. You can throw on Temple a little bit right now. You can't run as much, and we saw that last week against USF, that USF struggled a bit. Temple getting a little bit healthier. They did not have running back Ramon Davis. It looks like he's going to be available for this one. He's practicing at least early on in the week. Cornerback Benny Walls is also practicing. He's been out the past couple weeks, although they're not as sure about his availability on Saturday. The Owls did lose offensive lineman Vincent Bacozzi in that last game, and certainly that's important because their offensive line's been pretty good this year. Temple's offense has been hot and cold with Russo under center, but then they bring in Todd Centeio to come in and kind of give a different look. I'm going to lean usually to Temple as a home underdog. Now, I know Tulane's coming off a bye week, and they've still got a lot to play for in terms of the AAC West, but when you get Temple at home, a team with a very competent defense and a good offense and, a couple extra days to prepare, I lean to Temple here. I wonder why they are as a home underdog and as much of a home underdog as they are for this one.
We got Indiana and Penn State up next in the Big Ten, Matt. 14 in the hook is what the Nittany Lions are laying in Happy Valley, 55 being the total.
Indiana scored 30 points or more in 6 straight games. The offense is humming right now for Indiana, and they're ranked. I mean, this is uncharted territory for the Hoosiers. Are playing some of their best football right now. 2 injury notes for Penn State. Antonio Shelton, the defensive lineman, is back. He was suspended for 1 game by the Nittany Lions. Noah Cain, the running back, they said was held out last week. He could have played. The question is, what's Penn State's mindset? Big national title implications. Game last week. They lose, they get gashed in the secondary. They come back home. Are they hungover or are they pissed off? And we don't know that. And I think there's a chance that Indiana's worth a look, especially above 2 touchdowns. They've got an offense that's clicking right now with Ramsey under center. Indiana might be worth a look here. I know I'm kind of giving and hedging a little bit, but this is also Tuesday. So, like, if you look at the process that at least I go through, Tuesday I start with early leans. Wednesday we start digging into the practice reports and more information. So, since this is Tuesday, I'm not going to give out a lot of, hey, this is definitely my plays, because things could change depending upon the line. So that's why I'm kind of hedging a lot on some of these wagers here.
Yeah, and that's mostly talking the weekday games. Only a couple games left here on the Saturday card. Most of the rest of the Saturday card later this week, guys. We got Cincinnati at South Florida in the second to last game for this segment with mid-major, Matt. Cincinnati at USF, 49 being the total, Matt. 14, that's what the Bearcats are laying in Tampa.
I don't like either of these teams, really. I watched the USF Temple game last week. Their offense is atrocious. McLeod is not a very good quarterback. They can't run it very well. The only thing I did learn was that it's not Cronkite. It's Cronk-Wright. There's 2 R's in there. I thought it was Cronkite, and I was wrong. Their running back. They lost tackle Donovan Jennings with an ankle injury, and that was huge because Temple basically lived in the backfield. I think they had 10 or 11 sacks in that game. Bentley Sanders had an interception in that game. He left in a boot. There's not a lot to like about this USF team because Charlie Strong's not a very good coach, and it seems like they've kind of packed it in on the season. But then again, I'm not a huge Cincinnati guy. They took care of business against UConn last week. They crushed the Huskies and everything, and I kind of judge you on how much you beat them by. But, like, this Cincinnati team has a decent quarterback. They've got a really good running back in Warren, but they've got an exploitable defense. I don't really like either of these 2 teams. Cincinnati is a home game against Temple, which means a lot more in the AAC. They feel like they could probably go down to South Florida, win, give their C-level effort, and move on to the next game. So I don't like either of these 2 teams right now. I can't tell you to take the over because USS offense is atrocious, but then their defense, played well against Temple, but can they do it again against Cincinnati? If you put a gun to my head and force me to take something, I think the under is probably the way to go, but this is probably a game I would pass on.
All right, follow him on Twitter at MidMajor Matt. 1 game left here as Matt's coming to us from Richmond, Virginia. Not too far away from the next game up, Matt. You're there in, the ESPN studios, and it's not very good weather in that part of the country right now?
Well, it's snowing right now for a little bit. I mean, it's supposed to stop soon, but yes, we're getting our first snow of the year here in Richmond.
Wow, okay. Well, Syracuse at Duke up next. 10 in the hook. That's what the Blue Devils are laying at home. 54.5 being the total, Matt.
Well, it pains my heart that Syracuse is terrible. We've talked about that, and I had all sorts of futures on the over for Syracuse. I had the, Syracuse win the Atlantic. I had Syracuse win the ACC. I thought there was an outside chance, but this team's been atrocious. They fired their defensive coordinator at the beginning of the bye week, so maybe that has some sort of effect. But the 2 big things are they have not had McKinley Williams, who's a run-stuffing defensive tackle. He has not played at all this year, and they had their center, Sam Heckel. He played for a couple plays in the Liberty game, but then he gets hurt, and the offensive line collapses. They can't block anybody. Their offense is not going anywhere. The running backs have been disappointing. The defense has been disappointing. And you hope that maybe in a bye week situation, they come off the bye week and they refreshed a little bit and they play like the team they're supposed to. And you got a Duke team on the other side that's really hard to figure out. They're not scoring. The defense is not playing well. They've had situations where they were favorite and they're not covering. They're not even winning games. These are 2 enigmas right now. The line is a very interesting line. Double digits here for a Duke team that doesn't have much of a home field advantage and is very capable of losing this game outright. So the question is that you have to think about, is Syracuse going to come off the bye week refreshed and ready to play like the team we all thought they are, or are they going to continue to stink? Duke's going to run the ball and win this game rather easily. I'm slightly jaded because as a Syracuse alum, I hope they come off this thing and win this game outright and make that last push for a bowl. I don't know if they will, though. So therefore, I'll make a case for Syracuse thinking that they're the more talented team, but they have not shown it the past couple weeks. hopefully the bye week wakes them up a little bit.
All right, Matt. Good stuff as always, guys. Coupon code MATT69, that's MATT69 at checkout for a 7-day all-access package at sportsmemo.com. Less than $10 a day with mid-major Matt. Obviously knows his college football, college basketball as well. You will get that. And Matt, anything else you wanted to throw out before we shut this section down?
Certainly, if you follow me on Twitter, or you want to ask me questions about these games as the days get closer to Saturday, I'll certainly ask. But and I apologize for so many leans, but this is just the way it is on a Tuesday. I don't have too many things that I'm locking in, especially in this set of games right here.
All right, Matt. Thanks for the time, man. Best of luck with your bets. Guys out there, we will be back tomorrow with Joe Ranieri breaking down the next section of games on the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast. Best of luck with your bets.